I pulled the leather journal from the fireplace. My hands were shaking. Ash crumbled between my fingers, but most of it was still intact. Michael stood across from me in my living room, his face frozen somewhere between shock and anger. "Dad, what are you doing? I told you that's just Mom's old recipes. Let it go. It's time to move forward." My son's voice was gentle, almost patronizing, the same tone he'd used when he convinced me to let him handle the estate paperwork. The same tone he'd used 8 months ago when he told me not to call 911 right away because Mom's just sleeping, Dad. "Don't panic her. Dorothy had died in her sleep. Stroke," they said. "Quick. Painless. I should be grateful." But standing there with her journal in my hands, the edges still warm from the fire Michael had built to help me feel better, I wasn't sure what I felt anymore. The handwriting on the cover was definitely Dorothy's. Neat. Deliberate. But underneath the title Family Recipes 1998, there was something else. Smaller. Written in pencil. Almost invisible. For Tom's eyes only. "When I'm gone. Don't trust." The rest was smudged. Unreadable. "Dad." Michael stepped closer. "Come on. Give it to me. You're going to hurt yourself going through her things like this. Karen and I think maybe it's time we talked about you moving closer to us. You know, so we can help out more. Where are you watching from? And do you believe family should always be trusted with money?" I held the journal tighter. "I'll hold on to it, son. Thanks for the thought." His jaw clenched. Just for a second. Then that smile returned. "Sure, Dad. Whatever makes you comfortable. I'm just trying to help." After he left, I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Dorothy used to write her actual recipe cards. The ones now stored neatly in a box in the pantry. This journal was different. Heavier. When I opened it, I understood why. The first page wasn't a recipe. It was a bank statement, copied by hand. Dated June 15th, 2022. Account, ending in 4,739. My savings account, the one I'd opened when I retired from the Postal Service. 37 years of careful deposits, overtime, Christmas bonuses. The balance should have been $147,000. Dorothy had written $89,000, and below it, in her careful script, "Tom doesn't know yet. I checked online. Michael has power of attorney. I helped Tom sign it last year. I didn't read it carefully. My mistake. My fault." I sat there for a long time. The house was quiet except for the clock ticking in the hallway. The same clock Dorothy wound every Sunday after church. Power of attorney. I remembered signing something. Michael had brought it over during Sunday dinner, maybe 18 months ago. "Just a precaution, Dad," he'd said, "in case anything happens to you. So I can pay bills, handle things. You know how it is." Dorothy had smiled, nodded, encouraged me. "It's smart, Tom. We're not getting younger." I turned the page, more statements. All handwritten, all showing withdrawals I didn't recognize. $15,000 here, $8,000 there, $22,000. Each one dated. Each one with a note. Michael said it was for our property taxes, but I paid those already. Or Michael said investment opportunity. Won't say which one. My chest felt tight. Dorothy had known. For how long? The journal went on. Page after page. She'd tracked everything. Dates, amounts, Michael's excuses, her own investigation. There were printouts taped in. Bank statements she must have requested in person. Highlighted sections, her handwriting getting shakier as the pages went on. I found the entry dated March 3rd, 2023, 3 months before she died. "Saw Dr. Morrison today. He says the palpitations are serious. Mitral valve prolapse. Needs surgery soon. $45,000 after insurance. I told him I'd think about it. I can't touch the money now. If I do, there won't be enough evidence. Michael will hide what's left. Tom will never believe me without proof. I've been his wife for 41 years, but Michael is his only son. His pride, his legacy." I had to stop reading, put the journal down, walk to the window. Outside, The neighborhood was quiet. Mrs. Patterson watering her roses next door. The mailman making his rounds. Everything normal. Everything the same as yesterday. But nothing was the same. Dorothy had died because she chose to die. Not from a stroke. From a choice. She'd skipped the surgery. Let her heart give out. All to protect me from our son. I picked up the journal again. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The next sections were meticulous. Dorothy had created a timeline, every withdrawal, cross-referenced with Michael's visits, with his business opportunities, with his new truck, his wife Karen's jewelry, their vacation to Hawaii. She'd even included photographs, printed from her phone, I guessed. Michael's Facebook posts, pictures of their new boat. "Blessed to finally achieve our dreams," the caption read. The date was 2 weeks after a $28,000 withdrawal from my account. But the most damning evidence came near the end of the journal. Dorothy had gone to the bank, requested copies of every transaction from the past 3 years, highlighted the ones she knew I hadn't authorized. There were dozens, over $180,000 total. And then, tucked between 2 pages, I found a legal document, a trust agreement, signed by Dorothy 6 months before she died. Notarized. Official. She'd moved her own savings money I didn't even know she had, probably from her mother's estate, into an irrevocable trust, with me as the sole beneficiary. Michael couldn't touch it, ever. The note attached said, "Tom, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I know you'll be angry, but I couldn't watch you defend him anymore. I couldn't watch you make excuses. You're a good man. Too good. You always believed people could change, but Michael won't change. He's been taking from us since he was 20. Do you remember? The borrowed money for his business that never existed? The loan for his car that he never repaid? I enabled it. I'm sorry. I thought if I stayed quiet, he'd grow up. But he only got better at hiding it. The power of attorney was the final straw. I had to act. Please forgive me for not trusting you with this while I was alive. But I trust you now. Do what's right. Love. D. I read it 3 times. Then I called my lawyer. James Hendricks had handled my will years ago. Simple stuff. He was semi-retired now, only taking cases for old friends. When I explained what I'd found, there was a long silence on the phone. "Tom," he finally said, "I need you to bring everything to my office tomorrow morning. Don't tell Michael. Don't tell anyone. Just bring the journal." That night, Michael called. "Hey, Dad. Just checking in. You okay? You seemed upset earlier." I kept my voice steady. "I'm fine, son. Just tired. You sure? Because Karen and I were talking, and we really think you should consider that assisted living place we mentioned. Nothing drastic. Just a nice community. People your age. Activities. You wouldn't have to worry about the house, the bills." "I'll think about it." "Great. That's great, Dad. Oh, and I'll need you to sign some papers next week. Just updating your will. Making sure everything's in order. I'll bring them by." After we hung up, I sat in the dark, thinking about Dorothy, about the surgery she didn't get, about her sitting at this same table, writing in her journal, knowing she was dying, knowing she was choosing to die, all to save me from my own son. The next morning, I drove to James's office. It was a small place above a pharmacy in downtown Rockford. He'd been practicing law here for 45 years. When I handed him the journal, he put on his reading glasses and went through it page by page. Didn't say a word. Just read. His expression got darker with each entry. Finally, he looked up. "Tom, this is a solid case. Your wife documented everything. Financial elder abuse. Fraud. Potentially forgery on those power of attorney forms. I'll need to verify a few things, but if this is accurate, and I believe it is, Michael could face criminal charges." "Criminal? He stole nearly $200,000 from you over 3 years. That's not a family disagreement. That's a crime." I felt sick. "What do I do?" "First, we freeze your accounts. Today. Then we file a police report. Then we go from there." "But Tom," he leaned forward, This is going to get ugly. Michael is your son. Are you prepared for that? Was I prepared? I thought about Dorothy, about her last months, about her choosing between surgery and justice, about her funeral, where Michael gave a eulogy about how much he loved his mother, how she taught him everything he knew about family. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. We went to the bank first. First National, where I'd done business for 30 years. The manager, Patricia Chen, remembered Dorothy. They'd served on the church fundraising committee together. When James explained the situation, Patricia's face went white. Mr. Brennan, I'm so sorry. Let me pull your account history. She disappeared into her office, came back 10 minutes later with a stack of printouts. Her hands were trembling slightly. These signatures don't match, she said, pointing to withdrawal slips. I should have caught this. I'm so sorry. Your wife actually came in 4 months before she passed. She requested copies of everything, said she needed them for tax purposes. I didn't think I should have asked more questions. Dorothy had been here, sitting in this same bank, gathering evidence, while her heart was failing. Patricia helped us freeze the accounts, file a fraud report with the bank's security division. She called the police from her office phone. Detective Morrison is on his way, she said quietly. Tom, I'm so sorry about Dorothy. She was a lovely woman. The detective arrived 20 minutes later. Young guy, maybe 35, took detailed notes, photographed pages from the journal, asked permission to contact Michael. Not yet, James interrupted. We need to secure more evidence first. Subpoena his bank records. Check for any other accounts Mr. Brennan might not know about. The detective nodded. This could take a few weeks, maybe a month. Can you sit tight, Mr. Brennan? Not tip him off? I thought I could. I thought I was strong enough. But that Sunday, Michael showed up for dinner, like he always did, like nothing was wrong. He brought Karen and the kids, my grandchildren, Emma, 9, Tyler, 6. They ran to hug me, showed me their school projects, asked if Grandpa would take them for ice cream later, and Michael smiled, helped himself to pot roast, asked how I was feeling, mentioned the assisted living place again. They have an opening next month, Dad. We should tour it. I really think you'd like it there. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, stood over the sink, gripping the edges, trying not to shake. Dorothy had done this alone. For years, watched him smile, serve him dinner, hug her grandchildren, all while knowing what he was doing. How had she stayed so calm? I found the answer later that week, when I read more of her journal. There was an entry from April 2023, 2 months before she died. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because Tom deserves to know the truth. Because the grandchildren deserve better than learning that stealing from family is acceptable. Because Michael needs to face consequences, even if it's too late for him to change. This isn't about anger. It's about love. I love Tom too much to let him die without knowing. I love my grandchildren too much to let them watch their father get away with this. And somewhere, buried deep, I still love Michael enough to hope that maybe, just maybe, this will wake him up. But probably not. He's been this way too long. I enabled it. Tom enabled it. We're all responsible. But it ends now, even if I have to die to end it. 3 weeks after my meeting with Detective Morrison, the warrants came through. They arrested Michael at his office, froze his accounts, searched his house. They found evidence I didn't even know existed. A second power of attorney, forged with my signature, giving him access to my pension. Credit cards opened in my name. A home equity loan on my house, that I'd paid off 10 years ago for $75,000. Karen claimed she knew nothing. Maybe she didn't. The detective said they were still investigating. Michael's lawyer called James. Wanted to make a deal. Return the money. Avoid jail time. Just a misunderstanding. Family dispute. Can't we work this out? James asked me what I wanted. I thought about Dorothy. About Emma and Tyler. About the rest of my life. However long that would be. I want my son to face consequences, I said. But I don't want my grandchildren to suffer. We negotiated. Michael would plead guilty to felony fraud, repay everything, they'd liquidate his assets if needed, serve 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and he'd stay away from me. Permanently. The sentencing hearing was on a Thursday in October. I sat in the courtroom. Michael wouldn't look at me. Karen sat on the other side with her mother. Emma and Tyler weren't there. Thank God. The judge read Dorothy's journal entries aloud. Some of them, the most damning ones. Michael's lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut him down. This woman, the judge said, holding up the journal, documented 3 years of financial abuse. She died knowing what was happening, choosing not to intervene directly because she understood her husband would defend his son. She sacrificed her own health to gather evidence. She created a paper trail that prevented further theft, and she did it out of love. I've been on the bench for 19 years, and I've never seen anything quite like this. She sentenced Michael to the agreed terms. He'd report to jail the following Monday. As they let him out, he finally looked at me, and I saw it. Just for a second. Not remorse, not apology, just anger. That I'd followed through, that I'd chosen Dorothy over him. That night, I went home. Sat at the kitchen table. The same table. I opened the journal to the last page. The one I'd been avoiding. Dorothy's handwriting was barely legible here. Shaky. Weak. This must have been written days before she died. My dearest Tom, if you're reading this, it means you found my journal. It means you know everything. I'm sorry I didn't tell you in person. I tried. Do you remember that night in April? I started to say something, and you told me how proud you were of Michael for doing so well. How happy you were that he was finally stable. I couldn't break your heart. Not then. Maybe I was a coward, but I knew that if I told you while I was alive, you'd confront him. He'd deny it. You'd be stuck in the middle, wanting to believe both of us. This was easier. Let me be the messenger from beyond. Let the evidence speak for itself. I don't blame you for loving our son. He's all we had. But he's not the man we hoped he'd become. I've made my peace with that. I hope you can too. Use the trust money to live well. Travel. Enjoy your retirement. Don't spend the rest of your life angry. I'm not angry. Just sad. But mostly grateful, for 41 years with you, for a life well lived, even if the ending was complicated. All my love, always, Dorothy. P.S. The real recipe for my pot roast is on the back of this page. Make it for yourself sometimes. Remember the good days. I turned the page, and there it was, her actual pot roast recipe, in her neat handwriting, with little notes. Tom likes extra carrots, and don't forget the bay leaf. I made it that Sunday, just for myself. Sat at the table eating it, crying into my plate like an old fool. But it tasted exactly like hers. Exactly like home. 6 months later, Michael got out of jail. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved to Indiana. Started over. Karen divorced him. I haven't seen the grandchildren since the arrest. I think about them sometimes. Hope they're okay. Hope they don't remember too much. The money was repaid. Most of it. They couldn't recover everything, some had been spent. Gone. But I got enough back. Combined with Dorothy's trust, I'm comfortable. I still live in the same house. Still wind the clock on Sundays. Still make pot roasts sometimes. And I keep Dorothy's journal in the drawer by my bed. Not hidden. Not destroyed. Just there. A reminder. Of her strength, her sacrifice, her love. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. Turning in my own son, destroying my family. I tell them the truth. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret doing it. Because Dorothy didn't die for nothing. She died making sure the truth came out, making sure I'd be protected, making sure, in her own quiet way, that justice mattered more than comfort. That's not revenge. That's love. And in the end, it had won. Sometimes late at night, I talk to her, tell her about my day, about the garden she used to tend, about the neighborhood gossip she'd have laughed at, and I thank her for 41 years of devotion, for seeing what I couldn't see, for being stronger than I ever knew. The journal sits in that drawer, waiting, in case I ever doubt, in case I ever forget, in case I'm ever tempted to make excuses again. But I won't, because I learned what Dorothy knew all along. Sometimes the hardest love is the kind that demands truth, even when truth costs everything, especially then.